beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. This is the second part of a two-part series where I give you a generic step-by-step guide on how to set up a kegerator. So if you've not seen the first part yet, then I would suggest that you check that one out first before this one. As I suggested with the first guide, I would highly recommend that you watch this entire guide once before using it alongside your own setup. Let's now pick up from where we left off on the first guide. Our next step is to feed this fan hosing into our tap tower. This is an important part of your kegerator as it will aid in issues around foaming. The easiest way to do this is to temporarily remove the hosing from the fan. It pulls out pretty easily, as you can see. You can then just feed this up into the tower. This is actually a very easy step and you will not meet much resistance. After you have added some, check back on top and make sure that you have it where it needs to be, as I show here. This is not too far up so that it gets stuck on the lid, but far up enough so that the cold air pumped through it will drop from a higher height. This is on the basis of the commonly known fact that hot air rises and cold air drops. You can then come back down to the fridge section and cut off any excess hose that you do not need before repositioning the end back into the fan. This is certainly one of the easy tasks here and you should be able to do this very quickly. For the next step, let's now look at mounting your faucets, otherwise known as adding your taps. In terms of selection, I have gone with these new NukaTap black faucets. I love the improvements NukaTaps offer over the competition. I also love how stylish these look in black. I have videos on my channel covering all of this as shown on screen, so if you have not already, check them out for the full picture. My first step is to add this auto-close spring, which is an optional extra. These are very cheap and well worth using. As you can see, these are added with the wider part of the spring going into the shank first. Then you can add the faucet, ensuring that the spring fits inside before tightening up the ring on the shank by hand. Do note that this collar needs to be moved in an anti-clockwise direction for tightening. Whilst you do this, hold the faucet as straight as you can. This next part really needs a multi-tool. These are bundled in with packages usually. This particular Kegland version is a 7-in-1 tool and is pretty handy stuff. I've highlighted the collar spanner part that you need to use with a black circle, and you will find this is used by a variety of different manufacturers. Using the multi-tool, you can now tighten up the collar while holding the faucet straight. If you do not get it straight first time, then just undo the collar a little and try again. Next comes that very satisfying moment when you screw the handle on. I have gone for this short ball type, which I feel looks very good with the NukaTap in general, but especially good on the black model. There are of course lots of choices out in the market. This is simply the type I favour at the moment. Skipping ahead now after following the same procedures with the final two faucets, and here is the end result. I am certainly very pleased with how this looks. But we still have some more to do, so let's just get straight on with it. Let's now finish up the beer lines by adding ball locks. There are effectively a couple of different types of ball lock fittings that you can buy. There are those types with barbs as shown on the left and these screw type fittings shown on the right. With the barb type you will need to heat up the line and then muscle it onto the fitting and then fasten the line with a clip or a clamp. With the screw type you simply screw on a duo type fitting and add in the line as far as it will go one way and then give it resistance the opposite way and you are done. You can also reopen the duo type fitting and then everything can be removed. Pretty handy. I will demonstrate all of this shortly. You can also convert a screw fitting type into a barb type should you wish with an extra attachment, but this flexibility does not exist the other way round. Like many these days, I favour the screw fitting type, but instead of using one of these plastic models I am opting for a stainless steel type as shown on screen now. Not only do these look nicer, but they are also going to be much more hard wearing, so to my reckoning it's better to pay a little more now, but in the end save money and stress because these will probably outlive me. So let's get started by screwing in the duo type fitting onto the ball lock. Ensure that it is nice and tight afterwards. Before adding our lines, it is very important to check that the cut is nice and flat and clean. If not, then cut it down a little using either a craft knife or a cutting tool like this one, which was provided as part of this Kegerator kit. A couple of my lines actually needed cutting, and this will be a fairly common amount with a Kegerator build. We can then finish up by adding the lines into the duo type fittings for each of our ball locks. The method here is to push the line in as far as it goes and then pull back to ensure a secure connection. While we're on the topic, when using ball lock connections, it is important to apply keg lube to the O-ring that is on your ball lock post before each use. Not only will this allow for a nice easy connection, but it will also increase the ability of the O-ring to give you a good seal. Another great benefit is this also prolongs the life of your O-rings. To use a ball lock, lift this section up before applying it to your post and your keg. Push down and it will all click into place. Nice and easy stuff, just how I like it. Let's now move on to the setting up of the CO2 element of your kegerator. On most purpose-built kegerators there will be a section where you can fit a CO2 bottle on the outside, which we will add a little later, and also an entry point. On this Series X there are two, which are covered by these caps indicated on screen now. On some kegerators this will be a closable section which will allow one hose through with sealing around it. On the Series X these sections are open and allow ball lock cap posts to actually be added. So let's have a look at that now. The type that I'm using here is one of the plastic ones that is suitable for adding onto a plastic bottle or a foamzilla. Now there is a duo-type fitting that will fit the end of this and lead straight into your line for CO2, but unfortunately at the time of filming this is something that I do not have, so I've put together here a workaround solution instead, as you can see. So let's get this fitted. To do this, simply feed the cabling in and screw the post cap in place, making sure that it's nice and tight. This is a feature that I'm surprised has never been done before. Here is how this looks from inside the fridge section at this stage. Now there are various different ways of splitting your CO2 into your different kegs, but personally I like to use a manifold. The manifold you see here is compatible with duo-type fittings as shown, so let's get these on now. This step is the same as with the beer lines, these simply screw in place. You will note that this manifold has 5 outlets. I like the idea of an extra one, you never know when that will come in handy. The next step is to cut your CO2 lines as you see fit. Personally I've gone with 60 cm lengths, which is just a little under 24 inches in imperial measurements. This is more than needed really, but it's nice to have a little extra to play with, and like with the beer lines you can always cut them down if you wish. You simply attach these lines into your manifold as done previously with the beer lines. I've also added these lines into duo-type to the ball lock as previously shown too. Here is how this looks with one CO2 line attached connected to one keg. The manifold can be screwed into place if you like. I will probably leave mine as is, resting on the rear step section. Let's now set up our CO2 supply, starting with our regulator. My first step is to remove this barb to reveal the screw fitting. I can now attach a duo-type connector. Once this is on nice and tight, we can then bolt our regulator to our CO2 bottle and we are almost ready. I am now connecting my CO2 line that has a gas ball lock connector at the other end, and this now completes the CO2 setup. I really love that this CO2 bottle is now fast to move if I want to use it somewhere else. Be sure to clean and sanitize everything before using your new setup. I have a full guide to this on my channel along with other Kegerator related videos which I hope you find informative and useful. All there is to do now is add the drip tray and brew some beer to fill your kegs. If you would like to discuss this or anything else beer related, then why not head to this YouTube channel's Facebook group. Details are shown on screen if you have not joined yet. We have a friendly and helpful member base of over 8,000 brewers of all levels of experience, from never brewed before to veteran professional. This now brings this video to a close. If you have any questions then please let me know via YouTube or Facebook. I do hope that you found this video to be useful, interesting and enjoyable. If appropriate then please like this video on YouTube, and if you've not done so already then please subscribe. I regularly post new content. Happy brewing!